Germany recently regaled us all with their very German interpretation of democracy, which is, if a party we don't like is doing very well, then we ban them, and that's peak democracy. And of course, this has rankled the Trump administration. Marco Rubio and JD Vance have both come out, and Elon Musk as well, have publicly criticised Germany's decision to brand the AfD an extremist organisation, which they're not, just to be clear, because this seems pretty anti-democratic. You can't just go around banning parties you don't like, because that is tyranny. That is anti-democratic. That is to ensure that a particular kind of ideological hegemony maintains itself over a nation, even when the people of the nation are deciding, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to vote against it. As you can see from this map of constituencies, that renders about a quarter of Germany's provinces to be mostly supporting right-wing extremists. The light blue here is the AfD, and the rest are, of course, some form of communist. So, and when I say that, I mean their Conservative Party and any other any other centrist party that basically is also communist, who themselves would mostly benefit from banning the AfD. So this is kind of crazy, actually. And it's like, it's one of those things that you would think this is leading Germany in some sort of constitutional crisis, because actually it shouldn't be that the ruling parties have the authority to ban an insurgent party because it's doing better than them and it's on the rise and they're on the decline. But here we are, this is what has happened, and we are being told by many people that this is what democracy looks like. Here's JD Vance going hammer and tongs, here's Marco Rubio going hammer and tongs, and here's Joni Askola, just a Finnish PhD candidate. And so you notice that there are distinct ideological differences here. So JD Vance is a sort of traditionalist and populist. Marco Rubio appears to have been moving into this mold. And Joni here represents the liberal elite. And this is how the liberal elite idea-launder and credibility launder their own ideology through a series of institutions that they purport to be neutral, and arrive at what they claim is an objective and neutral conclusion, when in fact it is wildly and heavily biased towards them. Because actually this is kind of crazy. So Joni says, Germany ranks better than the US on the Democracy Index, freedom of press, non-corruption. With its history of dealing with extremism, I mean, I don't think that Germany actually dealt with extremism very well in its history, but maybe that's just me. Germany doesn't need lessons from the US. I mean, I actually think that if you're on the side of how Germany deals with extremism in, say, the last 100 years, I think America actually has a better track record of this. I mean, I'm no historian. Anyway, it's like when Vance claims that Europe is becoming dangerous, even though it's safe in the US. Yes, but getting worse. So yeah, this is a very interesting thing, because, what does the Democracy Index tell us then? Well, if we look at the Democracy Index, and we look at the United States, they've got 7.85, and Germany has 8.73. So actually, the United States, despite having a 200-year, or say 150-year unbroken continuity of having a functioning democracy, and Germany not having that, in fact, not even all of Germany having that, only since 1989, despite this obvious lack of parity, no, the Germans and the Finns are going to lecture the Americans on how to do democracy. So let's have a look at the Democracy Index, shall we? Because, I mean, there we go, checkmate. They've got 8.73, you've got 7.85. This is just scientific, bro. This is just a neutral institution that's looking at the data and coming to conclusions. And that's all we needed to know, so that Joni can go, actually, the US is lower on the Democracy Index than Germany, as if that's an argument for anything. So the Democracy Index is the extent to which citizens can choose their political leaders in free and fair elections. Oh. So how's that looking exactly? How's the Democracy Index looking for East Germany? Because if you are looking actually at what is happening, rather than some abstract ideological perspective, you'd be like, right, so it seems that a quarter of the German people have just been denied their first choice arbitrarily because the powers that be are afraid that the AfD are on the rise and they are on the decline. But Joni goes, no. It's a neutral, independent institution. It's concerned about whether they are just able to take part in the democratic process as we understand it. So, oh, well then, there should be no problem looking into this. The source is the Economist Intelligence Unit. Right, okay, so this is this. So the Economist Democracy Index is published by the Economist Group, and the Economist Group is the Economist Newspaper Limited. Right, so it's a mainstream media publication. And who runs this mainstream media publication? Well, the answer is a woman called Susan Jean Elizabeth Minton Beddoes. She is an English journalist, and she became, in 2015, The Economist's first woman editor-in-chief. Oh, incredible. So that's really interesting. So The Economist then, definitely neutral and independent. And so that's why in 2017 they started pumping out things like Karl Marx has a lot to teach Labour's politicians, or Rulers of the World, read Karl Marx. Because The Economist is basically at this point a communist publication. And they go on and on and on about Marx. And so being like, well, actually, it's just objectively, Germany ranks higher. I don't care. It's a mechanism by which the liberal elite and the left-wing elite can manufacture the narrative that there is some communist-run democracy index that says, no, actually, it's better for democracy if the AfD get banned. And that means that Germany is more democratic than the United States, which wants anyone to be able to vote for any party they want. Because otherwise, it's a danger to our democracy. And it's like, no, to hell with your democracy. This is not democratic. This is managerial technocracy in action. You will have the managed democracy that we tell you you can have. We will ban a quarter of the population from voting for the party that they actually want, if it means it preserves our power. Meaning that the democracy index is just a measurement of how successful they are at controlling a country without using the ballot box. This whole thing is just vile. It's just a shitlib, well, not even a shitlib, a Marxist newspaper that is being used by shitlibs to ban right-wing parties because they think the right-wing parties might win elections. And I am just so over all of this. I'm just so over it. Don't give me any of this we love democracy BS, right? It's so dishonest. And the thing is, Joni probably doesn't even know how dishonest he is. I mean, what is he even a PhD candidate for? Like, I can't read that. What's that? The Faculty of Social Sciences. So for him, he has been completely captured by the frame, and now he is just driving forward in the ideological frame. We always do the right thing because we've declared ourselves to do the right thing. We have defined the parameters. We are working within the parameters we personally defined. And lo and behold, the conclusion favors what we believe. Oh, what a surprise. What an absolute fucking miracle. Who could have imagined that? How absolutely neutral and objective you are. What guardians of democracy you are. Yes, it's completely correct that if you take your, and at best, insanely liberal and at worst, Marxist standards, and apply them to the AfD, who themselves are not, like, radical right-wingers, but who are like, maybe Germany should be for the Germans, and actually we should just be normal, and not wild, radical left-wing ideologues. No one, you find them to be objectionable, and you're like, oh, that's extremist. Not being a left-wing radical, that's definitely extremist. These guys need to be banned. And we don't care how many voters we disenfranchise when we do that. This, to us, is a worthwhile sacrifice. And actually, it makes us more democratic than you. Because democracy, I mean, what's democracy even mean now? What are we talking about when we say the Democracy Index? What we are saying is the International Liberal Hegemony Index. How much control does liberalism have over these countries? The bluer the country is, the more that the international liberal order has control over those countries, and the more red those countries are, the less control it has. And that, when you map it onto that, that makes a lot more sense, doesn't it? Which of these countries are part of the international liberal order? Well, yeah, we've got, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Brazil. Yeah, that makes sense. And Colombia, fine, fair enough. America, Canada getting darker here, Scandinavia very dark, Europe all fairly dark, and Australia, of course, And South Africa, they're all part of it. And India as well. Who's not a part of the liberal international order? Well, yeah, all of these guys who are not liberal countries, they are against the liberal international order. So it's either the core liberal international order, which is Europe and America, and then its dependents, satellite states, versus the illiberal world who still live in normalcy. Right, that makes more sense. And so they can say, no, the international liberal order, the reign of human rights, is most firm in Germany because, my God, I mean, voting isn't a human right, obviously. Couldn't be a human right. It's a civic right. But my God, we are so committed to making sure that foreigners have privileges over the natives. We're going to protect the minority from the majority to a much greater extent than the United States, and therefore we rank you lower than us. Blah, blah, blah. Aren't we great? Don't you suck? And isn't it completely justified to do this? It's abominable. It's absolutely abominable. Like this, and this is the way that the idea is laundered. So midwits can just say, well, this neutral institution says so. The institutions aren't neutral. They're all liberal ideological institutions when they aren't just openly Marxist ideological institutions. Can we please drop this charade?